Hi, I'm Chelsea, a Friday Pattern Company, and this week I wanted to show you a cool Ilford Jacket hack to make it kind of a shirt dress. So I have this really nice crispy white linen that I had an inspiration. I've been seeing a lot of these on around Pinterest and stuff where it's like a linen shirt that's kind of oversized that you can wear unbuttoned over things, or you could wear it as a dress or whatever, a bunch of different ways you can style it. And I think it would be a really great piece for summer because it gets really hot here in Sacramento, and I pretty much only want to wear like loose linen things once it gets really hot. So I'm going to show you kind of the changes I made to the Ilford pattern, and then I'll show you at the end just a few ways that I'm going to style this piece. I'm adding a belt and belt loops, so that'll be the big change, and then also lengthening it, obviously. So yeah, let's go. For this hack, I lengthened the body of the Ilford about 6 inches, and I want to add a side slit at the hem. So I held the piece up to my body and kind of marked with a pin where I wanted that slit to start, and I cut a notch there on the side seam. I'm not really going to go over the construction of the Ilford in this because we have those the Ilford sew along videos, so go back and watch that if you want. But basically, I'm at the point where I sewed the side seam. I sewed to the notch, I did a back stitch, I increased my stitch length, and then sewed to the hem, and that is to prepare for the side slit. So now I'm pressing the side seam open so that I can prepare to top stitch around where my side slit's going to be. So I'm going to take this to the machine and I'm going to sew up from the hem, just 1/8 of an inch from my finished side seam edge, up above the notch, and then I'm going to pivot just above the notch and then come back down the other side. And here's that done. We're not going to open up this side seam quite yet. So now we're at the point in our construction where we've assembled our front placket and we're ready to hem the Ilford. So we're going to sew from the placket to the side seam and back stitch, and then not sew over the side seam but start a new seam, back stitch, go to the next one, and repeat that on the other side. Now that we have our Ilford hemmed, we can open up our side slits, which will be nice and tidy because we've already put in that hem stitch. So you'll just identify where your notch is and then grab your seam ripper, and we're just going to rip up to that point. It should open up pretty easily because you used a longer stitch to sew from that back stitch at the notch to the hem. So I kind of carefully do this by doing a little bit of ripping and then pulling so that I know I can kind of tell when the stitches switch or where the back stitch is. Hi, future Chelsea here to tell you something that I forgot to film or talk about before, which is that I'm doing short sleeves on this. So I'm using the boxy sleeve, and then I'm cutting it so that the underarm seam is about 8 inches, which is longer than I need, but that's so that I can roll them up. So keep that in mind. For this hack, I'm gonna add 2 buttonholes. So I cut a piece that is 2 inches wide by 6 inches long because I'm gonna make 2 belt loops that are a 1/2 inch wide finished by 3 inches long. So I'm folding it in half lengthwise and pressing it. And then I will fold the 2 raw edges in towards that center crease that I've made and give it a press again. And then fold this all and edge stitch along actually both sides to give it more of a classic belt loop look. And the reason I made a 6-inch piece is because I'm going to cut it in half, and then we'll have 2. So here we have that done, and we're just going to cut this long piece in half so that we have 2 belt loops, and then we'll just set it aside for later. The other additional piece we need for this hack is a belt. So I have on just a top right here so that I can measure about how long I want my belt to be. So I have a measuring tape that I tied around my waist, kind of give some wiggles to make sure that it's kind of sitting how my belt will sit, and then I just reference the measuring tape to see how long of a piece I need to cut. And I'm going with 60 inches. So here's my piece that I cut for my belt. I cut 61 inches long because I want the belt to be 60 inches finished, and then it is 5 inches wide because I want it to be 2 inches finished. So that's doubling the 2 inches to 4 inches and then adding a 1/2 inch seam allowance. I'm pressing this end right sides together so I can cut a little curved edge because I want my belt to have kind of a curved edge, not be square. So I'll just cut that, and then I'll use this as a template for the other side to cut them so that they match. After that, you can go ahead and press the rest of it in half, and we're gonna sew all along this belt, leaving about a 3 or 4 inch gap towards the middle. So we're gonna sew from the end up and around, and then stop about halfway. I'll put some pins to remind myself to leave an opening so that we can flip this belt right side out. Here I have that sewn up, and it's kind of hard to see the seam, but there it is. And we're just going to trim away excess in the seam allowance, especially around that corner, so that we can get it nice and clean when we press it right side out. Now that you have that sewn up, we need to flip our belt right side out. So I did this through a mixture of like pinching and pulling and using a knitting needle to poke it through. Once you have it all flipped right side out, you're gonna get your iron and give it a good press all the way down the length of your belt, and making sure to close up the little opening that you left nicely, and then you'll take it to your machine and you'll top stitch all the way around. Just being careful with that opening again to make sure it's closed up nicely. And here is that belt finished. Now that we've got our belt and belt loops ready, we just need to find our belt loop placement. So I'm just trying this on, and then I'm going to tie the belt around my waist and move around a little bit, lift up my arms to make sure that I've found the perfect spot for it where it's going to be comfortable and feel right on my body. So once I have that, I'll stick a pin in it and I'll know that that's where my belt loop needs to go. So this is where I am putting it. Here is my side seam where I put the pin for the belt loop, and I like to put my belt loop not overlapping the side seam but just right next to it. So I'm going to pin it in place. I'm just folding the top edge under about a 1/2 inch and then pinning it in place, and I'm making sure that that seam underneath is still pressed open. So I'm actually pinning it like to the seam allowance and the jacket. And then I'll pin it in place on the bottom as well, just folding that edge under. And I'm gonna bar tack across the top of these. That is covered, bar tacks are covered in the pockets and buttons video of the Ilford sew along. So if you want a little guidance with that, just reference that video. Here's that done, and just repeat that on both sides. Here is the finished shirt dress. I love how it turned out. Yeah, it's just such an easy kind of essential layer, but I think it still has kind of that unique, a little bit weird vibe to it that I like to incorporate into my basics or like my wardrobe essentials. So now I want to show you just a few ways that I am excited to style this summer. This first way is just as a dress. So you could wear it just, you know, tied or untied. You could button it all the way up. You can have it kind of slightly unbuttoned, but it's just such a easy, simple thing. I want to wear this with like a pair of Birkenstocks and a sun hat, just, you know, walking around or going to the farmer's market, you know, the usual stuff. This second look is the shirt dress over pants, and with this I like to leave that little most of the bottom buttons unbuttoned, so it kind of still has that openness and I can have range of movement with my legs. And this is just kind of a cool, like, I'm your hip art teacher look. Here I have it layered over a dress, and I think this would look cute. I don't have a dress that's the right length, but I think it would look really cute with a dress that's slightly shorter than it. But I think it's also cute with this. So just over a dress, you could wear it belted and unbuttoned or just completely open. It's just a nice like extra layer, not necessarily gonna like keep you warm, but you know, add dimension to your outfit. For this outfit, I think it would be really cute to layer this open, unbuttoned over a pair of shorts and like a tank top. I've also been seeing a lot of people wearing like a crop top with high-waisted shorts and then like a oversized button-up layered on top, just open, and I think that is so cute. I might make another one actually because I really like that look, and I might make another one that's a little bit shorter than this, that's more of like just an open, oversized shirt. But yeah, I think this look is really cute and it'd be great for going to the beach or, you know, the pool or whatever. This hack I think would also make like a really good swimsuit cover up. that is it for this video. I hope that this was fun or inspiring for you. If you decide to do an Ilford jacket hack like this, make sure to tag us on Instagram because I would love to see it, at Friday Pattern Company. And yeah, happy sewing. Bye.